I never thought I'd be the guy writing some sob story about betrayal like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 5 years now. When we first got together, everything seemed perfect. She was smart, funny, a little bitchy at times, but in a way I liked. She kept me on my toes. I honestly thought I had found someone I could settle down with, build a life with. We moved into a decent apartment, started talking about kids, the usual plan. At first, the signs of trouble were subtle. Little things that didn't seem like a big deal at the time. She started coming home late more often, claiming work was hectic or meetings ran over. She'd get defensive when I asked questions, brushing it off with a quick, "You're overthinking it," or "It's nothing, I swear." Still, I trusted her. I mean, why wouldn't I? She'd always been honest. Well, mostly honest, and I figured if she was hiding something, it'd be obvious enough. But then things started feeling different. She'd be secretive about her phone, always hiding the screen when I came near. Her texts seemed more flirtatious, nothing explicit at first, just enough to make me uncomfortable. I brushed it off, told myself I was paranoid. One night I came home early from work because I wasn't feeling well. I expected her to be home, but the apartment was eerily quiet. I went into the bedroom, and that's when I saw her phone lying on the bed. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I noticed her messages. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I just found them because I accidentally knocked her phone off the bed. The screen was unlocked, and I saw a message from a guy named Jake. Just a quick text. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Love you." My stomach sank. That's when I started feeling this weird, cold knot form in my chest. It felt like a punch to the gut. I sat there, stunned. My mind was racing. Who the hell was Jake? Why was she texting him that? I looked through her messages. More texts came up, all flirtatious, some even more explicit. I saw plans for her to meet him at a hotel last month, her saying she was so tired of pretending, and that she wanted real sex. I felt like I was going to throw up. My wife, the woman I loved, was out there sneaking around with her best friend's husband. I immediately felt this intense mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. I wanted to confront her then and there, but I knew I had to be careful. I needed to plan my move. I couldn't just blow up without knowing everything, but I also couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. So I sat quietly, staring at her phone for a long time, trying to process what I'd just found. I thought about all those little signs, her secretive behavior, her lies, the late nights. I thought about how she always brushed me off when I asked if she was hiding something. I was furious, but there was this deep sadness too, like I'd lost the person I trusted most in the world. How could she do this? How could she keep it from me? And the worst part, I had no idea she was capable of such betrayal, especially with her best friend's husband. That's what made it hit closer to home. It wasn't just cheating, it was a betrayal of friendship, trust, everything. I thought we had. I started feeling like I didn't even know her anymore. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept circling back to those messages, to the images of her sneaking around, lying to my face. I felt stupid for not seeing it sooner, for not noticing the signs. But honestly, I also felt humiliated. I'd always thought we were solid, that she was loyal. That betrayal cut deeper than I expected. I started questioning everything. How long had she been doing this? Was it just a fling, or was it something more? Did she love him? Did she ever love me? The next day, I decided I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I needed to confront her. I waited until she got home from work. She looked nervous, fidgeting when she saw my face. I didn't yell right away. I just asked her flat out, "Lisa, I saw your messages. Who is Jake, and what the hell is going on?" Her face froze, and for a second I saw that smug, bitchy look she sometimes had when she thought she was in control. She tried to deny it, of course, saying, "You're being paranoid." "Mike, that's nothing." But I wasn't buying it. I told her I knew everything, that her lies weren't going to work anymore. Her reaction was almost laughable. She rolled her eyes, smirked, and said, "Oh, please, you're overreacting. I was just talking to a friend, that's all. You're making a big deal out of nothing." Her voice was dismissive, like I was some crazy idiot, but I wasn't stupid. I knew her too well. I told her I didn't believe her, and I was sick of her bullshit. I needed her to be honest, no more lies. That's when she snapped. She got defensive, yelled at me, called me jealous, insecure, and said I was just imagining things. But I knew better. I knew she'd been lying for months, maybe longer. The emotional roller coaster was brutal. I felt a mixture of rage, heartbreak, and confusion that I couldn't shake. I wanted her to admit it, just to say she'd been cheating so I wouldn't be left guessing. But she refused. She kept insisting she hadn't done anything wrong, that I was just accusing her for no reason. I could see the contempt in her eyes, like I was the one at fault for catching her. That's when I realized I'd been played, that she deceived me for so long I didn't even recognize her anymore. Her betrayal wasn't just about the sex with Jake. It was about the lies, the manipulation, the way she made me doubt everything I thought I knew. I knew I needed time to think, but I also knew I couldn't keep living like this. I stormed out of the apartment that day, my head pounding, my heart heavy. I needed space, clarity. I spent the next few days trying to process what I'd discovered, flipping between anger and sadness. I'd always thought I was a good husband, that she loved me, but now I was questioning if she ever really did. I kept replaying her words, her dismissiveness, her lies. I started to wonder if I'd been blind, if I'd missed all the signs, or if she'd just been a master manipulator from the start. Either way, I knew I had to decide what to do next, whether to fight for this marriage or finally walk away. The betrayal was so deep, I wasn't sure I could trust her again, and honestly, I didn't even know if I wanted to. In the days that followed, I couldn't focus on anything else. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, defiant, dismissive, like she didn't give a damn about the damage she'd caused. I kept thinking about her lies, how she just brushed me off when I confronted her, how she acted like I was crazy for suspecting anything. That smug look in her eyes still haunted me. I was angry that she could be so callous, so willing to throw away everything we had built together for some secret affair with her best friend's husband, Jake. It felt like my entire world had been turned upside down. I started to dig deeper, wanting to understand how long she'd been doing this, if she'd planned it from the start, or if it was just a moment of weakness. I went through her phone again, looked at her social media accounts, checked her emails, anything that might give me more clues. I found even more proof of her lies. She'd been meeting him, planning secret getaways, texting him explicit stuff even after she told me she was just friends. It was like she was living a double life, one I never suspected. And the worst part, she kept denying everything, acting like she was the victim, that she was being unfairly accused, that I was overreacting. It made me sick to my stomach. I realized I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with this. I was furious, but I also felt betrayed on a level I'd never experienced before. How could she do this to me? How could she lie and cheat with someone she claimed was her best friend's husband? The whole situation was a nightmare. I kept replaying the moments I'd spent with her, wondering how many times she'd been lying to me, how many nights she'd been out with him, pretending everything was fine. I felt so stupid, so naive for ever trusting her. I couldn't believe I was married to someone so manipulative, so willing to destroy what we had just for some sex with Jake. That's when I decided I needed to do something drastic. I couldn't just sit around, waiting for her to admit the truth or change her mind. I realized I had to take control of the situation. I started planning my next move, trying to decide whether to confront her. Again, try to get her to come clean, or just cut my losses and walk away for good. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let her lie her way out of this one. I'd seen enough. I knew she'd been lying for months, maybe longer, and I needed to make sure she understood that I was not going to be some fool who takes this kind of betrayal lying down. I didn't want to be someone who was broken by her lies, but I also couldn't keep pretending I was okay with being played like this. It was time to face the reality, no matter how much it hurt. The next step was confrontation, but I knew I couldn't just do it impulsively. I needed to be strategic, to understand exactly what I was dealing with. I decided I'd gather all the evidence I could, screenshots, messages, anything that proved her affair beyond a doubt. I also wanted to hear her say it herself, to see if she'd still try to deny it even once I had everything laid out. This wasn't just about catching her in a lie, it was about finally holding her accountable. One afternoon, I waited until she was supposed to be at work, then I left a voice recorder in the living room, hidden near the couch. I knew she liked to come home early sometimes, claiming she had things to do, so I took the chance. I needed her to slip up. I set up my phone to record her when she came home. My heart was pounding, partly from anger, partly from nerves. When she finally walked in, she looked guilty, like she'd been caught red-handed even before I said a word. I kept quiet at first, just staring at her. She immediately started with her usual bullshit. "What are you doing here? I told you I was working late." I didn't cut her off. I just pulled out the evidence, her texts on my phone, screenshots of the hotel plans, her explicit messages to Jake, the photos she'd sent him. Her face drained of color. For a moment she just stared at the screen, then her eyes narrowed and she scoffed like she was annoyed I was calling her out. "Okay, fine," she said, crossing her arms. "Yes, I've been talking to Jake, but it's nothing serious. We're just experimenting. It doesn't mean anything." Her words were so dismissive, like I was supposed to accept some bullshit excuse. I felt a fresh wave of anger. I told her I knew everything. How she'd been lying from the start, how she'd betrayed her best friend and me, all for some meaningless sex. Her reaction only made things worse. She started yelling, calling me insecure, jealous, and ridiculous for making a fuss over a few texts. She tried to spin it, saying she was unhappy, that I wasn't satisfying her anymore, and that Jake made her feel alive again, that she'd been confused, and that it was just sex, nothing more. But I saw through her lies. She was trying to justify it, to make me feel guilty for catching her. I could see she was angry too, angry that I'd finally found out, angry that her secret was out in the open. But I wasn't backing down. I told her I was done. Done with her lies, done with the cheating, done with her disrespect. I told her I'd be leaving, that I didn't want to see her face again until she was honest. It was the worst feeling I'd ever had, like my world had shattered in that moment. Her words echoed in my head, "It's just sex. I was unhappy. I didn't mean to hurt you." But it wasn't just about the sex. It was about the deception, the betrayal of trust, the fact that she'd been able to lie to my face for so long. I felt so hurt, so humiliated, so angry I could barely breathe. Yet deep down, I knew this was only the beginning of what was going to be a long, painful process of sorting through everything I thought I knew about my marriage and about her. After that confrontation, everything changed again. I packed a bag that night, knowing I couldn't stay in that apartment with her anymore. The betrayal had cut too deep. I felt like a fool for ever trusting her. I left quietly, not wanting to turn it into a huge fight in front of her. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break down, but inside, I was shattered. Every step I took away from her felt like I was leaving a part of myself behind. For the next few days, I stayed with a friend, trying to piece my head together. I felt numb most of the time, like I was just going through the motions. Every time I thought about her, I got a fresh wave of anger mixed with sadness. How could she do this? To me, to her best friend, to everything we shared. And yet, part of me kept asking if I was really surprised. Deep down, I'd always sensed she was a bit bitchy, manipulative, and maybe even a little possessive. I just never wanted to admit it until I had proof in front of my face. I spent hours replaying everything, the signs I missed, the lies I believed. I started questioning if I'd been blind or just naive. Was I really that clueless, or was she just that good at hiding it? I also felt a gnawing sense of betrayal watching her pretend she was innocent. She called telling me she was sorry and begging me to come back. She'd cry, say she loved me, that she was confused, that she'd never meant to hurt me. But honestly, I didn't believe her anymore. Not after the things I'd found out. I knew I had to face the facts. This was over. At least it was for me. I couldn't keep pretending that her lies didn't matter, that her cheating was just some mistake she'd fix. I'd been betrayed in a way I never imagined possible. I'd loved her, trusted her, and she'd thrown it all away for Jake, for a quick fuck. That realization made me feel sick. I started to think about the future, whether I should fight to save the marriage or just walk away. Every part of me was torn. I wanted justice, I wanted to make her pay, but I also wanted peace. In the quiet moments, I kept asking myself if I'd ever be able to trust again. That's the hardest part. Knowing she'd lied to my face for months, maybe years, and that she'd been sleeping around while pretending to be the perfect wife. It's a lot to process. I'm still in shock, still trying to figure out what comes next. But one thing's clear. My world was never the same after I found out about her affair, and I don't think I can ever look at her the same way again. It's a brutal lesson about trust, betrayal, and the price you pay when someone you love turns out to be someone you never really knew. Now, after everything, I've made my choice. I told her I was done, completely finished with the marriage. I didn't want to be with someone who could lie and cheat so easily, especially not with her best friend's husband. The betrayal went so deep that I couldn't see a way back, no matter how much I wanted to believe in some miracle. I've moved out of the apartment, found a place of my own, and I'm trying to rebuild my life from the ground up. It's not easy, I won't lie, but I know I have to move forward. Looking back, I realize how much I underestimated her. I thought she was loyal, that she loved me, but it turned out she was capable of so much more cruelty and deception than I ever imagined. That hurt almost as much as the betrayal itself. But I've also learned something about myself. I'm stronger than I thought. I didn't crumble, I didn't let her drag me down. I faced the truth head on, and I'm trying to get past it. Trust is a fragile thing, and once it's broken, it's nearly impossible to fix. I don't blame myself for what happened, I blame her. She chose to lie, to cheat, to hurt me. That's on her. For anyone out there going through something similar, I guess I'd say this: don't ignore the signs. When someone shows you they're capable of hiding things, lying, or betraying your trust, pay attention. Don't make excuses for them. Be honest with yourself. Because once the betrayal is out in the open, it's a long road to healing, if that's even possible. And if you're in a situation like mine, where someone you love turns out to be someone you barely recognize, know that you're not alone. It hurts. It's supposed to hurt. But eventually it gets better, slowly, painfully, but it does. I'll never forget what I found out, but I also know I can move on. I deserve better than someone who'd lie and cheat and ruin everything for a quick sex or some stupid game. I hope this story helps someone out there see the warning signs early. And if you're already in my shoes, I want you to know you can survive it. You can come out the other side stronger, wiser, and ready to rebuild your life on your own terms.